flavour to them. But first, let's bring in my panel, One Nation Chief of Staff James Ashby and the Liberal member for Barker. Now, Barker's in regional South Australia, rural South Australia, Tony Pasin. We're going to get into a whole lot of other issues that are really important, but I can't help but ask you, you're in the party room today, Tony. How was the mood? I know you don't tell me what they said, but how was the mood of your colleagues? And what about the passion you saw from individuals?
Well, it's always a great experience to listen to the contributions of colleagues, particularly that come to these debates from different perspectives from all across the country. But the message I got loud and clear out of that meeting, Peter, is that colleagues overwhelmingly want to put affordable, reliable electricity at the heart of our energy policy. And I think that's a reflection of what Australians want. Australians want us to focus on that first and foremost, particularly in the middle of this cost of living crisis. So it was no surprise to me, and I'm looking forward to what comes out of the shadow executive meeting tomorrow, but I would be surprised if it didn't involve, thankfully, a dumping of the net zero policy.
Well, mate, I just can't believe these numbers. Resolve Political Monitor, the latest survey out today, 31% want net zero gone, 31% from a standing start. Other than One Nation and the National Party, no one else is out there arguing for that. So from a standing start, you've got a third of the country who want it gone, 15% are gettable, they're undecided, and I reckon some of the yeses, you can win them over. I mean, that's almost better odds than you had with the Voice, and with a bit of argument, you won the Voice. So that's the opportunity for you. Let's see if you can seize it. James Ashby, let's go to those numbers out today. For all the talk that Labor promised in the election that it could get these migration numbers down, you look at the detail. This is an analysis from the Institute of Public Affairs. Very clearly, we are at September this year, just to September, 415,000 people. This is big Australia on steroids.
Yeah, this is, again, magnificent work from the IPA. Members, if you're not one, you should join because it helps craft this important information that we all need to know as Australians. Look, I got a good lesson when I was 18, Peter, on what it's like when you let too many people in. As a kid or a young bloke who went to nightclubs, there was always a limit on how many people could be in a building. And if that limit was 100, there was a reason for it, for safety, for the experience. You wanted to give club patrons a good experience. And look, there was plenty of times where I was stuck outside in that queue just having to wait patiently until someone left for a cigarette and you'd go in, right? And that was the thing that we did. Now, the same rules apply when it comes to immigration. If we over-commit people to this country, it just places too much pressure on everybody that's already here. And it ruins the experience for everyone. And I think we're all going through that at the moment. So simple analogies like that, they work, and I think it's what people understand. That is why people are hurting. That's why people are open to the discussion that, I guess One Nation's been ahead of the curve on this one for 30 years. We've been saying we've got to watch the numbers of people we bring into the country, and equally as important, we have to watch the types of people that come into the country as well. But again, this is Labor putting their big intake of migrants in. And why are they doing that largely? Well, they want the vote, number one. And number two, they want to increase the number of parliamentarians before this term of Parliament's out. And why are they doing that? Because we've got a huge influx of people who have come into the country, and they try and make sure that there's never any more than 100,000 voters in any electorate. So that's why we're looking at, what, about an extra 50 new parliamentarians. Outrageous.
And that's, of course, why Tony Burke is holding these mass citizenship ceremonies, thousands of people at one time. Yep. And they're almost, as they walk out the door, signing the form to enrol to vote for that exact reason that you're making that point there. Yep. Let's go to South Australia, your home state, Tony. A huge rally today calling on the Premier, who made these horrific comments. I mean, Labor likes to talk a big game on protecting women, and they bang on about domestic violence and everything else, very important topics, of course. But when asked about women with allegations of abuse, this is women in women's prisons, and the abuse has been perpetrated by biological men who are in there as trans inmates. The Premier said it's a niche issue. Well, Nicole Flint, your former colleague, took him up on that today on the steps of the Parliament. Have a listen.
If Premier Peter Malinauskas does not act in Parliament today to protect the safety of all women, but particularly women who are incarcerated in jail, to protect them from biological men, then all South Australians should know that they cannot trust a word the Premier says when it comes to women's safety.
So the Northern Territory, you know, she said, the Chief Minister, no blokes in women's prison. We're seeing that same response in Tasmania now with word of a trans woman, a biological man, who raped a 3-year-old child, wanting to be moved to a female's prison. But in your state, there's been more and more stories about abuse of women in prison.
That's right, Peter. I mean, women serving custodial sentences shouldn't be forced to share a jail cell with a man. I mean, I can't believe I'm having to say that. I think of my grandfather who died in the late 90s. If he was listening to this debate, he would surely think we've gone mad. But the Premier seems to describe this as a niche issue. Well, memo to the Premier, this isn't a niche issue. This is a substantive issue. Violence in any form is inappropriate, but in that setting, where the Premier has responsibilities to people in custody, is just completely unacceptable. And I'm quite surprised by it, Peter, because normally the Premier, and I've got to give him credit for this, he's normally on his line and length. He's smooth as a cat's whiskers, effectively. But for some reason, perhaps pressure within his caucus from the left, he's just way off the mark on this one. Leah Finocchiaro, probably the leading politician in Australia. I say that because, of course, she's Italian of heritage and we do everything better, Peter, but she is bang on when she says blokes go to male prisons, and that's it.
Spot on. I agree with you on Malinauskas. This is a rare wrong foot from him, but he better turn it around or else I think it will absolutely dog him. I'll leave it there, gents. I'm sorry we've been squeezed with all that news out of Canberra.